Hey everybody, thanks for joining us on episode 12 of NextGenKarate. We're filming in beautiful Kelowna, BC, in Rodney Hobson Karate Academy, our dojo. My name is Rod. This is Lauren. How's it going, Lauren?
Very good, actually.
Having a good day?
Yeah, hope everyone else's
What
day is
about
going
me?
well, too.
Yeah.
What
There's
about me?
another voice here. We have a guest host joining us. This is Maxwell Doust.
Hello.
He's a 12-year-old, correct?
Yes.
Student from our dojo. He's joining us today on episode 12 and then on episode 13 next time. Just to have a little, bring you into the fold, have some conversations with these guys.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It's a really big opportunity. I'm really excited to be here. It
Yeah.
should be really fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of fun, well, maybe not so much fun, but we just wrapped up a grading on Wednesday. And actually, we talked about it last episode that Lauren was grading, but you were grading as well, Max. So
Yes, I was.
how was it for you guys? How do you think you did?
It was pretty nerve-wracking. I could have performed better, but I tried.
I think I did pretty well, yeah.
Not too sure?
I just try not to think about it, because then it gets me more stressed. So
I see,
I just
yeah.
put it behind me.
Yeah, one and done. You did
Yeah.
it, it's over, and then whatever the result
Yeah.
is. Yeah, so how the gradings work here is you guys have to wait a week for all your results. So you went out there, you did your best. You're in a group. I think there was 6 people on the panel,
Yeah.
including myself. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the experience, even though it is stressful. But it's meant to be a performance of your skill. You should be proud and happy. But tons of fun. Maybe not for you guys, the grading was, but for everybody else. When we were here yesterday at the skills challenge. So we had 40 kids here running through that challenge. It was packed.
It was.
So many parents around, all the kids running around. Like it was crazy in here, but I think everybody had a really fun time. You couldn't make
It's
that
too
one.
bad I couldn't be there. I was off doing my own family thing.
Yeah, but that's all right.
Yeah.
No, it was a ton of fun. Lauren was there helping out.
Running speed kumite.
Yeah.
Paddle kumite.
My favorite drill.
And how did that go? How did the kids
So
love it?
basically, the kids really enjoyed it, because
Cool.
it's like their favorite game.
Cool.
But I have 2 hand paddles, and I hide them behind my back. And then when I lift them up, I have to lift them either head, down flat, or sideways. And it's either a punch, a front kick, or a roundhouse kick. And then whichever kid of the 2 gets it first will get a point.
Right.
And then first to 3 will win the match.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's a really fun game. So
Yeah. So we had 8 stations around. Let's see if we remember them. So there was the paddle kumite up in this corner. And then we had 1-leg roundhouse kicks here where we recorded them how many nice, perfect roundhouse kicks they could do without losing balance.
or
and then
putting
we
their
had,
foot down.
Yeah, for sure. And then we had the ninja dodge here where Nathan got to smack kids with, with what are they called? Foam pool noodles.
Yeah.
And then in the corner we had what we call get the bacon or snatch the bacon, but it's like our flag game.
Yeah.
Beside that was accuracy.
Yes.
Yeah, so we taped some tape to the big kicking pads and called out which levels we wanted them to hit and recorded their accuracy. Cut the station.
Physical fitness first.
Oh yeah, physical fitness. So we timed them who could last. There was 2-minute plank, 2-minute wall sit, and how many push-ups you could do in a minute. And like people were cracking 100 push-ups in a minute, which is nuts. They were going hard. And then the kata station, where they were taught a brand new kata in 10 minutes, and then their score was how many moves into the kata they could remember.
Yeah.
Last station in that corner, that was
the agility station.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you had to jump over a pad side to side, forward and back, run the ladder, and
Some balance
crazy
stuff, too.
For sure. So 10 minutes every station. They got all their scores recorded, and they all got to take home a pretty sweet trophy. So it was a ton of fun. We always try to have fun here, but it's a nice little intro for the kids who maybe are a little too intimidated to try a full-fledged competition. This is something nice that they can come in and mainly compete against themselves and not so much against other people. But ton of fun. Anyway, I guess we should get on with it.
Yeah.
Episode 12 starts now. Thanks for joining us today. We're on episode 12. We're here talking with Richard Mosdell. He's a good friend of mine. I'm just going to rattle off some stuff that he does, but the list is really long. Currently, he's the Karate BC High Performance Chair. He owns his own karate academy. It's Kenzin Sports Karate in Victoria, BC. If you're in Victoria, make sure to go check it out. Full-time karate academy, focuses on traditional and the sports streams. He has his own podcast, Karate 360, which I know I listen to, co-hosting that with Kaylin Anglos. He's the Canada Open promoter and organizer. We're going to get to that because that's a brand new high-level competition coming to Canada, similar to the U.S. Open, but it also has a nice recreational base stream. He was on our episode already before on episode 1. He was our guest with Lauren and I. But that was a strong BC team focus component to that episode. This one's going to be all about you, Richard. So thanks for taking the time. Thanks for joining us, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for inviting me, guys. I'm really excited to hear what your questions are and maybe provide you with some stuff. Yeah.
Totally, yeah. It's going to be a good one.
Okay, so going back a little bit, how did you get started with karate, and what sort of led you to get into karate?
I was always in martial arts of some sort. Parents putting me in judo or kung fu or whatever. And then in middle school, so I saw some guys at school like, hey, can you do a split? Can you break a board? Can you do this stuff? And I was like, no, I can't do anything like that. And they said, can't you kung fu teach how to break a board? I'm like, nope, we don't do that. What are you gonna do if I throw a punch at your head? I don't know, because I haven't learned that form yet. And you should come down and work out. So then they took me to their karate club. And this is way back in the 80s when everyone was like, do 100 knuckle push-ups just before practice, and thousands of sit-ups, and jumping up and down splits, and people hitting with sticks, and it was awesome. It was really great. All my best friends were in it. The instructors were very charismatic. And it was just what I needed as a scrawny little kid when I was as a teenager.
Sure. Was that in Victoria? Like, did you grow up in Victoria?
I grew up basically in Victoria, yeah. So that was here. And my friend who got me into karate, he was having Japanese homestays. And as the homestays were coming through, some of them had been doing karate in Japan. And then what they would show me, I was like, that's kind of interesting, because that's kind of not how I've seen karate.
Do you guys know what homestay is?
No. Is it something like an Airbnb where you let them come into your home and stay there?
I think it worked both ways. Richard can maybe explain that Canadians go to Japan, and then Japanese people come to Canada to experience the lifestyle and the culture. But maybe you can go a little bit more in detail, Richard, if you don't mind, on what that all involved.
Sure. People who come here, and this happens still a lot, they'll come here to study English from non-English countries. The colleges will organize families to take the kids in, and they'll pay some money, and they'll stay in a room, and they'll get their dinner. And it's a really great way to learn the culture. And same thing when you go to Japan. I got my homestays organized through the Karate Association I'm in, and I got to stay with different families. I ended up staying with the assistant coach of the Japanese national team. I didn't know he was assistant coach until I was in the homestay.
Oh, wow.
And his name is
pleasant surprise.
Yeah, and his name is Toshiaki Maeda Sensei. He became the head coach for 10 years. He was a world champion from the Wuko tournament of 1980 and minus 65. And super nice guy, trained all the time. But of course, now when I realized my training wasn't nearly at the level that even the recreational black belts were at, he was quite kind, but he really pushed me to get better. Yeah, and so had to get up with him in the morning. We would put our suits on. I was teaching conversational English. We'd head into town. He would go off to the karate office, and I would go off and teach the classes, and then we'd meet at the dojo later on at the end of the day, and I trained like crazy, and it was good. So that being in a homestay is a really good way of beyond being in a hotel. You really get to know the rhythm of the country. And
is that a hard pill to swallow? Because I know, we have even Q belt levels here that, they earn a blue belt or a brown belt or a black belt in another style or another martial art, and then they come and they have to maybe restart or look at their training and say, well, maybe I'm missing a component, and that's difficult for them. You went to Japan as a Nidan, I believe.
Yep.
So how were you able to rationalize and go, well, I'm here for me? Because some people would look at that and go, well, I like it better in Canada. I'm a Nidan over there, and I'm a big fish in a small pond, and I'm happy where I'm at. Was that difficult for you, or?
It was well, first shocking, because I thought we were training at the same level that you would get knee down in Japan.
Right.
So that was a big shock to the system. And then because I always thought of myself as a scrawny little kid that always had to try harder, then I just thought, okay, I'm back to being a scrawny little kid who has to try harder again.
Right.
And that kind of motivated me to not just stay in one place and go forward. And I made it. Japan has a lot of rules because it's a group. It's more of a group society. So I didn't know what the rules were until I broke them. And those could be like little things like do you eat when you're standing on the train, or do you how you plan to do things with people, or if you here, let's say in North America, let's say it's Monday, and you say to a friend, "Hey, on Friday, you want to go see a movie?" Like, yeah, I'd be up for a movie. Like, which one do you want to see? I don't know. Maybe meet at the theater around 7. Sure. And then Friday morning, you're contacting your friend, going, "Are we still meeting today?" But in Japan, they just meet. Like, okay, we said Friday at 7 p.m. meet in front of the theater. I don't have to say it again.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different.
Sure.
Okay.
So that was really enlightening. So I was actually going back and forth between Japan and Canada while this was doing my university. So spending half a year there and half a year here. So then when I graduated from university here in Canada, I just said to myself, okay, I really, really want to be in Karate BC. And I really want to be connected to Japan. And I really hope that all my old karate friends want to be connected to Japan too. And so I spent several years training in both systems. So I would teach in my Vancouver club my old way of doing karate while I was personally training the Japanese way, thinking that one day I'm going to switch over. We're all going to switch over.
Okay.
And when that moment came that, no, it was just going to be me and two of my very, very best friends, then we just switched. And we all decided we're just going to be with the Japanese Association through their official Canada one. And that was a really great moment because at that point, all the weight kind of lifted off my shoulders.
Right.
And I also felt like I don't need a karate master or a karate teacher anymore. I just have people that I respect that I learn karate from. So then we had to pick a karate name. And so I contacted Maeda Sensei and I said, okay, I've got 50 at a sheet of 50 Japanese words, which I thought might be easy to say in English and sound kind of cool. And I circled 3 of them. And then on the phone, I read all 50 names to him to see if there was anyone that he thought, a Japanese person would think was okay. Because, it'd be like in another culture, they think there's a really cool English phrase, and we're like, oh, that's like 20 years ago.
Right.
So I read them all down, and in Japanese, he's like, dame, 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 which means no, no, no. He's like, dame, dame. And when I say Kenzen, it's the only one he doesn't say dame. And that was, of the whole 50, and it was one of the 3 that I had circled.
Oh, really?
And so I'm like, yes, okay, it's one of my 3. And that's the one. So Kenzen means like super healthy, complete healthy. And it comes from the Japanese term Ken as in sword, Zen as in like spiritual, and Ichi means all. But there's a different way of writing Ken to meaning fist. And so it means the fist and the mind are one. But Ken can also mean, in a different character, can mean healthy.
Okay.
So we use the complete healthy term. That was great.
Right.
Compared to Canada, do they train a lot harder here than they would there than they would here? Is it a lot more intense? And
that's a really good question. It's a really good question because there's kind of 2 parts to training in Japan. One is you train in a private karate club, kind of like we do here, 2-3 times a week. And that's like a recreational way of doing it.
Okay.
But then there's an elementary, a middle school, a high school, and a university karate league. So, for example, in Tokyo, there's about 600 high schools, and 47 of them have a karate clubs. And those karate clubs train 5 to 6 days a week. Some of them every day. When I went back to Japan in 2004, for 10 years, I was the head coach of the oldest karate high school club in Tokyo. And the first few years, we would train Monday to Friday from 4 to 7. And then the kids would do personal training after from 7 to 8. And on Saturdays, we would train from 12 till 3. And then from September to the end of November, and from March to about the end of July, there was a tournament or a team training or a seminar every Sunday.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So if I'm a personal karate club owner and my high school student gets accepted into a high school that has a good karate club, I feel like that's awesome.
Right.
Go train 6 days a week. And they might come to the dojo once a week, right? Maybe once a week. But everything about that has to be in the high school, because a lot of Japanese people, that's where they make their friends for life, is in high school and university. So the high school league is really, really intense. The first 4 years I was there, I was able to get the team to nationals every year. So in terms of schedule, yes. In terms of actual training, a lot of clubs will still do an hour of Kihon, an hour of Kata, and an hour of Kumite.
Cool.
There are people who specialize just in Kata for competition and just in Kumite for competition. So they might do extra beyond that. So the level is quite high. And they have the whole range, right? Just like us, we have people who are from a beginner right up to the people who are elite. But Tokyo's like a pressure cooker. So it's like a hothouse environment. So when all the Tokyo teams get together, those that percolate into the top 8 will be quite strong. And there's a really famous program at Setagaya High School, which is an all-boys high school. And I've seen them take kids who are like, I don't like sports, I don't want to punch anybody, and 3 years later, they're at the national championships.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. One of my bosses, who was the vice principal of the high school, his son went to the high school, and he liked karate, and it was kind of okay, but he just didn't have the I want to compete. Yeah. But in the third year, he was the team captain.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. So again, in that type of program, not only do the coaches know how to train everybody, but the graduates will come back on a regular basis and they'll train everybody. So when you go into the club, you're like, okay, there's the coach, there's my 30 teammates. Oh, and there's 10 graduates here from university who have nothing to do but just spar with us. Yeah, so it has a hothouse culture. And even the 10 years I was there, a lot of it changed, because there's an idea that Japanese fighters just fight straight. But because all the Europeans go there, all the North Americans, everyone from the Middle East, everybody goes through Japan. Yeah. They're doing lots of seminars with and spreading out a lot of nonlinear movement and stuff. So now when you see Japanese fighters move around, not only are their hands really fast because they're really sharp going forward, but now they're just doing amazing kicks and takedowns and spinning. And as you saw at the results of the recent WKF World Championships, powerhouse. Japan was at the top. Yeah, powerhouse at the top of the ranking.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, if you were to, let's say the two of you wanted to go over and do 3 months as an exchange student or an international student when you're in high school. So what we would do is we would find a high school that has a karate club with a karate coach who likes to interact with foreigners and see if we could get you a homestay, and then you could go over for 3 months, you could do 6 months, you could do a year. And what I tell students that are going over, I said, don't do the 6-day-a-week karate thing. Do like 3 days a week, because you're going to want to see the rest of the country, and you're going to want to learn the language, and you're going to do all that other stuff. But those 3 days a week, your karate is still going to get so much stronger.
Yeah. So why come back?
Oh, after 10 years?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, because we had bought a house, had kids. I was in university doing my PhD in global studies. I was actually looking at how karate globalized. And I thought, okay, I'm going to become a professor one day, and I'll still teach at my karate club. But then the massive earthquake happened in March 2011.
Oh, okay.
That earthquake was so long. There's a lot of earthquakes in Japan. I might be sitting here, and I might be like this, like, oh, we're having an earthquake, and that's fine. And then everyone gets back to work. But that earthquake lasted like 2.5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And it was really long. And so
that's scary.
Yeah. My desk computer fell over. I ran out in the middle of the street. Being in a Japanese office, I didn't have my shoes on. I had my slippers. Oh, yeah. and the buildings were shaking, and there was a kindergarten that the school owned that I would teach karate at once a week, and this mom and her little daughter were on a bicycle, came zipping by, and I had to stop them, and I had to hold them. And then I kept thinking, like, okay, that building's going to fall down. That building's going to fall down. The bullet train line, which was elevated, was nearby, and it was shaking like crazy. And there was an earthquake in 1995 where in Kobe, which is in the middle of Japan, where the bullet train line fell over. It's like the SkyTrain line in Vancouver, where it's elevated up. But I just kept thinking, there's going to be a hole that I'm just going to grab these two and dive through that hole, and that's where we're all going to be safe.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, terrible. But it stopped. We were okay, and then I went up to the teacher's office, and in Japan, a Japanese high school or any school is like a company. So there is like an actual office of desks where all the adults sit,
Okay.
And then the kids stay in their classrooms, and the teachers rotate. Right? Kind of like an elementary school.
Okay.
It's nice for the adults because then there's 100 adults in the office and you actually feel like you're in an adult world.
Right.
Everything's on the floor. Everything's knocked over. Everything's on the floor. And I look up, they have these big flat screen TVs, and there's a movie trailer on of a tsunami on fire going across a rice field, destroying everything in its path. And I go to my boss, I go, that is the craziest movie trailer ever. And he goes, Richard, that's not a movie trailer. That's happening now live.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. So I could see like cars getting taken out and stuff. And I said, okay, second question, how close is that to here?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's 200 kilometers away. So after that, we sort of started thinking, maybe we should leave the country. Because
no doubt.
There was a 70% chance, there's going to be a level 9 earthquake under Tokyo sometime in the next 100 years.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then,
my gosh.
So that was one. Second was, I was getting a little tired of just karate. Like, my wife calculated that, in the spring and in the fall, I was doing 70 days of work and get a day off and do 70 more days of work.
Wow.
So that was a little bit too much. So I started thinking, I want to do something else. And then the third is, now that I had my kids, I wanted them to go to school in English instead of Japanese. There's more critical thinking done in English than in Japanese education. So there in Tokyo, to get all your education done in English, you have to go to a private school and spend like $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So then a really good friend of mine, Craig Devlin, who's an assistant coach of the national team, who you guys should interview, he's really, really fascinating. He said, hey, come back to Canada, let's start a full-time training academy, and we'll get Kenzen going again. And April 2014, I came back. This community center built this amazing facility, and by September 2014, we're up and running.
Outstanding.
Wow.
Outstanding.
That's cool.
Yeah. So Max, we were talking earlier, and I think you wanted to ask a little bit about the Olympics.
Yeah. The Olympics in 2020 are being held in Tokyo. Did you have any thoughts on going back to maybe watch or help coach?
Yeah, actually, that is an amazing thing, because on one side, I'm against Tokyo having the Olympics. On the other side, I'm 100% for karate being in the Olympics.
Yeah.
So I'm conflicted.
Explain.
The 2011 earthquake created almost 200,000 internal refugees.
Oh, wow.
And the nuclear power plants that exploded, they are not under control. They leak massive amounts of radioactivity every day. So the Olympics, and now that Tokyo, we've got the Olympics. Okay, that's great. We've got it. We're just going to have a fantastic time with it. But I also knew that Japan is becoming way more conservative, like neoconservative. And so these guys are going to really screw it up. And they've really screwed up the Olympic plans by way overspending. If you read the Olympic news recently, the IOC has been spanking them badly about overspending, and they're kind of out of control. There's secret money passing around. And that all that money should have been applied to fixing this problem and taking care of those internal refugees. Because those internal refugees are in northern Japan, away from the power brokers, they don't get the same visibility.
Okay.
And I think it's really important when we talk about karate and we talk about the world that we don't just glorify or talk about how great everything is. We really need to, talk about all sides so that we can think about, what's out there.
Yeah. For sure.
Okay, so let's put that out of the way.
So on a more positive note, karate is in the Olympics. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I know the people who worked really, really hard to get karate Olympics. Toshida Nagoda Sensei, who's the Secretary General of the WKF, fantastic man. And they have all the right intentions in terms of the karate part of the Olympics. They have really all the right intentions. So I'm really excited about that. They were looking for people who had bilingual skills, international skills, who wanted to work with them to organize it. My name had been floated around to go back to Japan. So, but that's flattering. That's nice. So in terms of the Olympics in Japan, we should all go watch it. I don't want to do anything but sit in the stands and watch.
Okay.
Because I was a translator for the 2008 WKF World Championships in Tokyo, and that was held at this building here on the cover of my book. That's the Nippon Budokan. That's where the karate is going to be at the Olympics in Japan in 2020. That's where they held the WKF World Championships. So when I was a translator, I got to work talking between the WKF staff and the Japan Karate Federation staff to do the translation. It was great. I was right on the floor. I was right beside Agiev. I was right beside all these famous people, of which I could watch for 10 seconds at a time. And in the WKF, you get a badge and it has an infinity pass. That means you can go absolutely anywhere.
Okay.
Then you get a badge, which is like an athlete, coach, official, and then you get a press badge. And the press seating is the best. And I thought, I want to be in the press seating. So that's all I want to do. Because a really good friend of mine, Takamasa Arakawa Sensei, he volunteered, and the entire 4 days he was in the warm-up room. And he loves meeting people and talking to people. So he was taking pictures with everybody, but he didn't see 1 second of the competition.
Yeah.
So I've told them that I'll be there. Maybe give me a press pass, and I'll blog it out or I'll tweet it out. So that's what I want to do. Yeah. But we should all go and see it, because it's not guaranteed it's going to be from 2024. That's the next stage that they're working on now. And
that's July, I believe.
So it's 2020 is in August, but the vote to be in 2024 is next June, June 2017.
Right, June.
But let's talk about you guys going to Japan if you went right now. 2 weeks.
Okay.
What do you guys think? Is that something that you guys would want to do?
Maybe not now. I think I'd
when I get
wait
older, yes,
longer.
Why?
Make through school first and then worry about
What do you guys think it would be like?
I think it'd be a great experience. Yeah. It'd be really cool to see like the style difference and the training difference, the teaching difference. Right. Just how they run it differently in Japan versus Canada. Okay. But I think it'd be a big step going from Canada just straight into Japan.
Yeah.
I think the hard part maybe that Richard could help out with is you book your flight, you choose, okay, I want to go to Tokyo. So you go to Tokyo, and then what do you do?
Yeah.
Right? Like, how do you get to these clubs? How do you get to the instructors? How do you approach the senior sensei to take a class? So yeah, maybe you could just help us understand that part.
You two are the perfect age to go for a 2-3 week trip. You're the perfect age because you're old enough to be aware of what's happening, and you're young enough not to have a ton of other responsibilities you have to think about. Yeah. If your parents want to take you, and Japan is an awesome place to go sightseeing and visiting. And people in the Japanese karate community are super sweet. They're really, really nice. Okay. So the way that it would be organized, and I can totally help you with this, is you say, okay, what type of karate clubs do I want to see? So we book a whole bunch of karate clubs to go to, maybe one every different night. Okay? So in the daytime, we go sightseeing.
Yeah.
So we go see all the really cool stuff that Japan has, especially Tokyo. So if you're in Tokyo, we would go to the youth district, and you would see all the youth fashion places. Then we would go to the animation and electronics district, and you would see all the cool animation stuff and electronic stuff. Another day, we would go see all kinds of shrines. Another day, we would go to like a whole bunch of karate martial arts stores and stuff, and you got to see how they sell their things and what they offer.
Yeah.
You know, another day we would go to like a place where you could try on a Japanese kimono and have like a really traditional Japanese meal, and like every day you could do 2 or 3 of these things packed in a day. You could never sightsee in your whole life. You'd never see everything that was really cool to see in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's 160 kilometers wide. There's 33 million people in it, and it's super safe. You can walk at midnight and not worry about having any trouble.
Nice.
And then at night you go to a different karate club, let's say from 7 to 9, and you work out and you meet friends, and they're super sweet. And then after that, everybody goes out for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you collapse, on your bed at your hotel or your homestay at like 11 o'clock at night. And then the next morning at 9 a.m., you repeat. And then maybe at the end of the trip, the last couple of days of the trip, you just put the karate uniform away and you go, I'm going to go climb Mount Fuji, and I'm going to go down to Hiroshima and see the Peace Memorial. They have an amazing memorial in Hiroshima of World War II and the atomic bombing. It's something everybody should do if they go to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And you should go to Kyoto, which is like the traditional capital of Japan, where they have the whole geisha district. So you guys are the perfect age to do 2 or 3 weeks. And then it would allow you to think, okay, so when I get older, high school, university, maybe I'll go for like a summer, or I'll go for 6 months or something. And high school and universities, they have a lot more exchange programs and opportunities that way.
Right.
Yeah,
I
so
think
that's what it'd be like.
Pretty darn exciting for you guys
Yeah.
to go down. And the Olympics coming in 2020, maybe that's a good benchmark for us. We can maybe get a team together or a group together to go out there a couple weeks early, go train like Richard says, and then take in the Olympics. First time karate's going to be in the Olympics. Pretty exciting stuff.
Like here's a really good sample of like, this is what it's like if you walked into a karate club. You'd be walking in and all these kids would be running out from their class going, hey, how's it going? Hi. And they'd be saying little easy English phrases to you.
Right, right.
And then I'm just trying to look for, we have the artist, the illustrator who did my book is Japan's most famous karate illustrator, Genshi Kamobayashi. And so the way he draws karate is exactly how it's done. And we have like as you can see here, it looks like they're actually doing karate. They're not just stick figures.
Totally, totally.
Yeah. So that's what you would see, and and the other thing too is Japanese are awesome for making friends. So if you make a Japanese friend, you've got a friend for life.
Nice.
Yeah, they'll totally stay in contact.
Yeah.
Well, I guess just lastly, we can touch on it. We're kind of running out of time, but speaking about all of us going to Japan, let's talk about everybody else in the world coming to Canada. Next year, Canada Open, first time that tournament's going to be held here, and Richard is the promoter and the organizer of that event. So maybe you can just let these guys know what they have in store for them, because they are definitely going to compete and try to become a Canada Open champion.
That's great. Well, the U.S. Open has become very popular down in Las Vegas in spring, and I always thought we should have something like that in Canada because there's a lot of Canadians who travel down for it.
For sure there is, yeah.
And so there's other parts of the country that we're also thinking of trying to host it, but I approached Karate Canada with Karate BC, and they accepted it for the first 3 years. And we're hoping to have it forever.
Okay.
And what I was thinking is, if we hold it in June, it's a really nice time when people want to visit Vancouver. And also, with the way we've changed the competition in British Columbia, now you can have a Canada Open where we can invite the world to come in. And then 6 months later, we have the Karate BC Provincials, and then our community can also get together again, just us. So it's kind of nice 2 bookending parts. And then you can do development tournaments all the way through the spring and land at the Canada Open as like as a target tournament, and then in the fall do all these development tournaments, then do the provincials, do a team selection, and then you can shoot off to nationals at the beginning of spring. So, and if you make it to the national team, you'll have a bit of a different calendar. But for the karate community, this is going to be great that we can. I'm hoping by the 3rd year we'll have 1,200 athletes coming. 1,200 athletes. 12 rings. So offer, right from the, recreational level all the way up to the elite level. And we're going to do lots of really fun stuff. So I'm going to do the flying sidekick contest.
Cool.
You guys ever done a flying sidekick contest?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have. Is that the thing where we set up the pads and?
Well, we do it here in the dojo a little bit, but not on a I guess at a competition.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it'd be about approximately the same thing. Yeah.
So we take a high jump bar.
Okay.
And then you gotta jump over it. You gotta hit it with you gotta hit a blocker that someone's holding with a sidekick and land on your feet. So don't knock over the bar, hit the blocker, land on your feet, don't crash into the person holding it. And you get to go to the next round, and they raise it up like 2 centimeters or something like that. I used to do it at the Vancouver Karate Cup that I held. It's so popular. It's a really great way of finishing the day. And it's not a flying front kick, because flying front kick contests, a lot of people land on the back of their head.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll have the Can Open will be a really great experience for us all, especially if all the clubs get behind it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be there. Yeah. We'll be there for sure. Who would win a flying sidekick contest between you guys?
I
I almost kind of broke my hip trying to do jumping front kicks against keys. So
I think he can jump higher than me, though.
Right.
So I'm not a great jumper.
Just trip him before he gets there. You'll be fine. Anyway, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for joining us. For those who, like what Richard says, wants to get a hold of him, if you're in Victoria, Kenzin Sports Karate, make sure to go visit him or listen to Karate 360. It's a podcast, iTunes, Google Play.
There's my book.
Just like ours. Sunny Leads, check that out. Volume 1, Volume 2 is in the works.
That's right. And in the back, it explains everything about all the big Japanese organizations. And there's essays on what it's like to go to Japan and even work in Japan.
Cool.
So,
a perfect intro.
If you're thinking of going to Japan see the Olympics, this explains exactly the type of world you're going to be in while you're there.
Well, we're definitely doing that.
Yeah,
I know that's a big goal. I've already talked to my family. We're stoked about it. So anyway, I appreciate taking the time early Sunday morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Richard.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks
You
very
too.
much. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Crazy. So, going to Japan,
Yeah.
exciting?
Well, it would be a great experience, and I would enjoy it a lot for even more than just karate reasons, but karate would be a big part of it, too.
Just seeing the culture and where karate began, I guess. Yeah. What do you guys think? If you could tell the future, think you could spend 10 years in Japan? Teaching English, teaching karate? That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Not your thing?
No, probably not.
You don't think so?
No.
Well, teaching karate would be a bit tough for me, but teaching, not exactly teaching, but training with other people and trying to, help them improve.
Yeah.
Without not overall, teaching them was kind of my thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's a thing that karate offers, right? Everyone just gets together and learns off each other. Even if you've been in it for 20 years, you can still learn off somebody who's been in it for a couple of years, because everybody has different experiences. But that was excellent. Thanks for joining us, Richard, and thanks for joining us, Max, on this episode as a nice guest episode. Laura and I are having some fun. We're off. That's episode 12. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Good. Okay.
You should probably cut that last part out.